Are you ready to explore the exciting tech world like never before? Welcome to Better You, the podcast where we dissect the latest in business, technology, and startup trends, all with a keen focus on growth. So, buckle up and get ready to stay ahead of the curve. Let's make you a better you.
Folks, welcome to another episode of Better You. Today, I have a guest speaker. His name is Arpit. Arpit is one of the experts in AI space, and he's going to talk about AI impact on technology, business, and he also holds 2 approved patents in distributed space and 3 patents who are work in progress in AI infra space. Arpit, I'm very excited to have you. And again, let's deep dive in what you're doing in the AI space. As we already know, the AI, generative AI, large language model is one of the hottest topic to talk about in the tech community today. So, Arpit, over to you.
Sure. Thanks, Neeraj. Thanks for having me here. I'm excited to talk to you and talk to the audience. I specialize in artificial intelligence infrastructure on distributed system, where I focus on facilitating the large-scale deep learning job for model training. I have around a decade of experience, and I hold around 2 patents which are granted in distributed system and a bunch of other pending patents which are in the AI infrastructure space. Apart from that, I have contributed to the Kubernetes, which is leading platform distributed system. My education background includes 2 master degrees, one from IIT Roorkee and other from the Stony Brook, and I have also pursued the AI certificate from the Stanford and taught by likes of Professor Chris Manning and Andrew Ng. So I've built systems and dealt with the issues, what it takes to run large scale training jobs, and large scale training job on top of the existing GPU based infrastructure.
So it's so exciting because today, if you look at the market, market is heavily focused on vertical AI, like building applications on top of base models like large language models, OpenAI, and Llama 3, and so on.
Right.
So, listening to your background it's so exciting because looks like you are basically on the AI infrastructure side. Like, what does it take to run those base models? Is that correct?
Right. Yeah. So, running the foundation model as we speak, this week itself, the Llama 3.1 came out. And to give you an idea of scale, the Llama 3.1 was trained on 16,000 GPUs. So we are talking about $1 billion worth of infrastructure. And so it takes not just getting the GPUs, but also putting a cluster on top of it. In today's industry, there are 2 major ways by which these nodes are stitched together with cluster. One is the Kubernetes way, and the other is the Slurm. The Slurm comes from what we call HPC background, high performance. It has been there for 30 years, but it has found its new value, or the new power in the AI space. We are actually in a very interesting times, because it's where the HPC meets the AI. So once you have a cluster, then you need to have some form of infrastructure on top of that cluster, which you can either build yourself, or you can pull from the open source to run those jobs. And then people usually package their job in frameworks like PyTorch, and under the PyTorch they usually run their jobs. And there itself they write this logic of how the data is going to be distributed across nodes, how they're going to be talking to each other, how the training will proceed, usually called as training loops.
Very nice. So just to clarify, this HPC, which is a high performance computing, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And so, Arpit, from the technology, if we stick, as we are discussing the technology aspect of AI, if we just take this for a second, well, let's take a step back. How do you see the let's call it a drama? How do you see the drama of this OpenAI, Microsoft, now Meta, and all these different technology companies, big technology companies, hyperscalers? For example, AWS invested 4.6 billion, I believe, if I'm not wrong, in Anthropic. How do you see the drama of all this base models, this large language models, unfolding?
Right. We are literally in the race, right? Where every company wants to release the best new model. So I think it's mainly around who will own the the space, the operating system of the space is the foundation model, and all the companies or rest of the companies will build on top of that foundation model. So, and apart from that, like building a foundation model costs a lot of money. So, like if you see in today's space, only the big companies like Google came with Gemini, or Facebook came with Llama, and OpenAI with ChatGPT are able to on Anthropic with Cloud A, they're able to come up with their models. So going ahead, I see that some of the foundation models will turn out as winners, and I guess rest of the industry will use these one or two which are the winners of this space as a reference and build their application on the top. And you must have seen this story play out in other domains also, right? We had so lot of, like 20 years ago, we have social media space, but in the end, the Facebook came out to be the winner of that space, and rest of the company built on top of that. Or on third space, Google came out the winner. So that's how I see that we will have a foundation model which will be uh, proven to be good, and we will build. And on top of that foundation model, you can fine tune it for various tasks. And the vertical industries like healthcare industry or finance industry, or they will build they will either fine tune them for their specific task, or they will build their agents which can use the foundation model, as well as they can do bunch of other things apart from just querying the LLM.
Yeah, I noticed. I think a couple of days ago, OpenAI came up with the OpenAI search, if I'm not wrong,
Right.
and that takes us to the next topic, which I really want to understand from you, as you are the industry expert.
Hmm.
What are the different types of AI workloads that you guys are seeing in your domain?
Right. So majority, there are four kinds of AI workload. One is of course training, and that if you see any large model, the training is basically two parts. One is pre-training, where you just train the model on basic tasks, which is like next token prediction, and other is the post-training, where things like you align the model to the human preferences, where these techniques called RLHF and DPU and TPU come into picture. The other workload is inference. Inference is essentially once you have trained the model, then you want to get output of it. So when you submit a query on the chat GPT, essentially the technical term it is doing is inferencing, which is basically asking the model, give me the output. And the other kind of workload is fine tuning. Fine tuning is you take a base model, or you take a foundation model. Let's say you take a llama, and you fine tune it for your particular task. For example, I want to use the model for the movie review prediction, so I can just fine tune, take the model, put the my specific data, and tune it to give me the output and input in the format I want. And the last, which is coming up, is sort of spread across to more spaces just than AI. It's called rendering, where like rendering the high fidelity videos, or rendering the videos which are generated by AI is also kind of an AI workload. So these are the four major workload that I foresee.
Yeah, and I don't want to go into politics at all in this episode. I just want to talk to you about this. All these models, the four types of models that you mentioned, and I don't know if you're following any of the tweets or on X, and this videos and audios keep coming out, which
Mhm.
who are fake videos or altered videos. Any of those models, do they play any role in one of those use cases?
This is one of the major concern, and all of the industry is focused on how do we make these models safe. And of course, as you pointed out, the voice cloning is one of the major. It's a major technology, but it can also be misused. Like we have seen news. I think I was reading yesterday that the Porsche executive, somebody mimicked the CEO and asked them to do something, but they were intelligent enough to do a cross validation, and that's how they found. But yeah, these things are the part of the picture that will come by.
Yeah, yeah. I updated my iOS to iOS 18.1 beta, and it has built-in Siri intelligence where I can actually create my own. I can clone my own voice, and then I can ask Siri to use my cloned voice as main base model or base audio to start sending text messaging or start taking notes
Right.
based on my voice recognition. I mean, again, it goes back to the ethics. It's crazy how this AI domain is evolving.
I mean, you think about the applications of it, right? That there have been instances seen where people use these AI models as their loved ones. So they will, upload the text of their loved ones to that model and ask the model to talk like as if they are talking to their loved ones. And other is of course the fraud. Like somebody gonna call up in a cloned voice, and especially our elderly are very susceptible or vulnerable in this domain. So I would expect that there will be work done to make sure, like for example, we have internet viruses, so we have security companies who make sure that they don't affect the common man. So this cat and mouse game would have to go on.
Yeah, yeah. So we moved away from the AI workloads and we are talking about the different domains of AI. In the same topic, I don't, have you used Waymo yet?
Uh, I've not used Waymo, but yeah, I have driven the Tesla self-driving experience, Tesla self-driving.
Oh my God, tell me more about it because I use Waymo. I don't have Tesla, but again, it's just mind blowing, how this computer vision is playing a huge role in self-driving cars. And I believe that's also part of the whole AI initiative.
Oh yeah. I mean, the whole AI world, if I categorize into the broad domains, there are like 4 domains, which is the first is computer vision, and the self-driving car were the application of the computer vision, and like they were the cool 5 years ago. And we see a lot of companies, investing heavily in the self-driving cars. And it involves, identifying object and constantly determining whether to take what action to take next. So it is perception and as well as prediction. The the other domains of AI, as what's the current hottest smart is NLP, natural language processing, and ChatGPT is a application of the language processing. Uh, the other two less talked domains are, which you probably use in day to day life, is speech processing. So Siri is an example of the speech processing, and the last is the reinforcement learning or robotics. These two are different, but we sometimes talk them in the same. We can put them in the same category. So yeah, and as you said, the self-driving car really are trying achieving very great accuracy. So
Yeah.
much so that passenger have uh, started going in them, and we see the other frontier, which is the natural language processing. The ChatGPT has become a part and parcel of like a lot of people life.
Yeah. And so, Arpit, on the same domain, like same idea, where do you see robots coming in? Like, how can I have a robot at my house, at my place, to do day-to-day stuff for me?
Oh yeah, I mean robots are the next frontier of the AI, and we have seen papers and open source or in conferences talking about how would robot can convert from funky demos to the really useful day to day things. We are seeing that the hardest problem in the robotic domain is that how do you train a robot, right? So we are seeing a lot of activity in that space. We are seeing papers which talks about, you can simulate the robot training, and we have this concept of transfer learning, which means that you 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 train a model, and then you take that learning and then you transfer it to an actual robot and you test it out whether it works or not. So yeah, I think that in my view, robots will be the next frontier of the AI, because we are already seeing in a lot of other spaces that that usage of drones, the usage of they are advanced robots in my view, and then we will probably foresee both good parts, like, they can do your dishes, they can take your mail, they can iron your clothes, and as well as run your chores.
Yeah, I do see Amazon has some robots that we can buy, but they are not that advanced. And I wonder, what do you think? How far are we? Like maybe next 5 years, 10 years, we can have some useful
That is
robots.
that is hard to say. I mean, in even in self-driving, we are not reached the L5 level yet, right? It is still user has to still pay attention in most of the cases. So yeah, but yeah, I would expect that in next 5 to 10 years, there will be the huge progress because of the so much amount of compute that is available now, which was not available before.
Actually, that takes us to I really want to talk about this topic. You just mentioned a very important keyword. You said compute.
Right.
Every company, Wall Street, is watching all these big giants so closely because they are spending billions of dollars on figuring out how to overtake AI. For example, I believe Mark Zuckerberg, a few months ago, he made the statement that it will cost Meta 30 to $40 billion a year just on the cost of training the models and overall on the consumption itself. And I'm actually, I want to take your, what's your take on the scalability over our cost of all this AI workload? So, for example, we have ChatGPT, we have Llama, and we have Google Gemini.
Right.
If you can give us some insight, what do you see the scale and cost of those AI workloads?
Uh, I mean, we have some numbers, and we have seen them in various papers. The Llama paper or Facebook has told us that, for example, the scale is high. Like, they're training their model on almost 16,000 GPUs, and they have a cluster worth which contains 24,000 GPUs. And so it is like almost, infrastructure which is worth, like, in billions of dollars. It's not an easy task because it's not just compute, right? You have to connect them together, networking. You have to put up a data center. You have to figure out cooling, and because uh, see, the AI workload is very interesting. We had distributed systems who is built on the fundamental principle that things can break. But when you do the AI training, if even one of the participating node goes down or goes bad, you there's a potential your training can get halted. So it's like, you have to operate on large number of nodes, and you have to make sure that all of them are up for all the time of this time of some of training. That's where the one of the largest challenges comes, and we have things like fault tolerance and stuff. As compared to cost, like, yeah, of course it will go in billions of dollars because getting 2,000 nodes of GPUs is hard and it's costly. And apart from that, the next hardest challenge is getting the data. To give you an example, the Llama 2 was trained on, let's say, 1.5 trillion tokens, but there has 7x increase in amount of data on which this Llama 3.1 is trained. And they have put 50x more scale as compared to their last compute cluster. If you compare like Llama 2 and Llama 3, the Llama 3 is 50x more scale in terms of compute. So we are seeing, increase in exponentially how it will be. And these are the companies who will have data, like, who has kind of constant stream of data in form of social media or search or a video. So yeah, this is going to be exponential, and I don't know where it will stop.
Yeah, and as a consumer of, let's say, Instagram, I don't use Facebook or WhatsApp. We have this little orb on our app, and I can easily type stuff there, and this AI can do so many things for me. And I believe all that is based on Llama 3. Is that correct?
They have not disclosed that yet, but I'm guessing some advanced version of Llama 3 they use internally.
Makes sense, because look, Facebook has so much data. It's funny, yesterday Mark Zuckerberg mentioned that how about we take all the Facebook data, like all the user Facebook data, and build LLMs on top of it. That's something he talked about it. But of course, that's another topic I want to talk to you about, the compliance and security piece. But let me take a step back on before I go into the business aspect of this conversation. um, if you have to summarize without going too much technical details, uh, what do you see the most popular AI techniques in the market right now?
Right. So all of the models that we have today, including the GPT and the Llama, they're based on the transformer technique, which was invented in 2017. And so the transformer technique is the one which revolutionized this world. And all of the current models are some variation of the transformer or stacking more transformer on top of this. As you see this, right? It is a 8 billion, 40 billion, or 405 billion. It just means that they have increased the number of layers as well as number of parameter in each layer. So that is the main technique. So that applies at time of the pre-training, and then the other technique that are popular are which are post-training, or we call alignment. Like you have a model, now you want to make sure that it outcome is in line with what humans expect it to be. So we have this OpenAI use RLHF, and now we have this TPU and TPO, which is policy preference optimization. They come from the domain of reinforcement learning. These are the main techniques around the training, how to build the foundation model. Uh, the lot of vertical companies who use these models for their personal purpose, they use SFT techniques, which is fine tuning technique. So they're called LoRa is very popular, low rank adaptation for fine tuning the data. These are the major I would see as an evil role. Yeah.
Very nice, very nice. Okay, let's just focus on the second aspect of this episode, which is very close to my heart, and which is more on the revenue side, business side. VCs, investors, technical founders, they are so passionate about how AI can help them to get to the next level. How can be the next big thing they can tap into that? Uh, as you are in the industry, where do you see the business aspect of the AI, especially when it comes to startups, or whether it comes to startups, as you are infrastructure expert, startups in the infrastructure? Give us some insight. Where do you see the business aspect as part of the startups in AI space?
Right. So we like based on my readings of news, so we are seeing a shift in two dimension. One dimension is that I see like a lot of the AI funding has increased a lot. I was reading article in IEEE, and it seems that in 2023 the number of companies that are getting the funding in AI space has almost doubled whatever it was in 2022. And the other shift that we are seeing is as companies, take help of AI, the humans become more efficient. And with efficiency, you reduces the cost because now you're able to do more work in less amount of time and the less amount of people. So that, and especially you can, you can forgo or let the AI do the mundane thing, things like in software industry, writing the test cases or writing the alerts, or which are cookie cutter sort of things. So now AI can take care of it, which is giving the developers a chance to focus on the harder problems and making them, of course, more efficient. So we do see, that the the funding from the VCs is getting moved to the companies which are operating in AI space or using AI as a tool, which I guess a lot of CEO talk about in their earning calls as well, that they are using AI as a tool to improve their efficiency.
Yeah, and I keep hearing this new word, AI agents. Startups are heavily focused on building their version of what AI agents, either based on their domain knowledge or industry focus, or more business focused, so that they can deliver more value on
Yeah.
top of the base model, and they can start selling these agents.
Oh, of course. Like, agent is somebody who uses the LLM as foundation, but can also use tools. For example, like say if you take a model which is trained on 2023 knowledge, and so you want, but sometimes you would need a latest information. What is the current interest rate, or what is the current best stock to watch. So agent is somebody who can ask the foundation model, but also can use tools to search on search online and tell you the answer. and we can, of course, agent can use multiple tools, like in a way, GitHub Copilot is an agent, like helping you to code better. So we are seeing that these agents are, will become very powerful. Like, I could probably, like, just my imagination, imagine a world where I would have, a sort of agent lawyer or agent doctor, with which reduces the amount of time you have to, with basic queries can be answered right on your phone without having to talk to an actual actual expert.
Yeah.
Expert can be a second level of expert.
Exactly. And you know what, Arpit, that actually brings us to the another important part of this as part of the business aspect discussion. Um, so I work with a lot of enterprise companies, like big organizations. They are very sensitive about their personal, their PI information and their, compliance aspect of their offering of their products. So as part of, this whole AI space, do you deal with the compliance, security, ethics part of AI at all?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Ethics is a very essential part of the AI. I took a course at Stanford, and where the professor made sure that every assignment has some sort of an ethic aspect. So this is a very challenging work, because essentially, Neeraj, we we do not understand these models fully. Like, because what do you see? Hey, if somebody says, "Can you remove bias for the model?" It's not so simple, right? You have to experiment a lot of prompts and align it, and then try to remove the bias, right? It's not like, hey, I switch these parameters and magically bias is removed. So and since they are trained on the human data, and if the data itself, is biased, then the model will likely be biased. The bias can be in many forms. It can be gender bias, social bias, nationality bias, all sort of things. So yeah, and as dependency of humans increase on this model, it's very important for the industry as well as academics everywhere to make sure that models are safe, and companies are taking measures to make sure that the models are safe and they don't have this bias.
Yeah, and very interesting topic because I do deal with a lot of training the data sets. And then what I do is sometimes I will go to the internet, download Yelp data, the old schools of doing machine learning. But
Right.
then I want to do, more, not more like near real time data analysis. And then I can easily go to Reddit, Quora, and, maybe X, download
Right.
the data, start working with it. But now imagine for a second, if I somehow tap into this public data sets and start building prompt on top of it. And suddenly, let's say you're using a prompt and then you search for something and your personal information shows up just because you shared that information on Reddit or LinkedIn or X. And now I'm training that data set. Where do you see, as part of this paradoxes of AI, where do you see that particular behavior coming into the picture?
Right, because like, if data which is used to train AI is not cleaned up or is not thought through, then we can get into situations where the personal information is disclosed or not properly taken care of. So uh, the challenge is manifold. So there's a race, right? Everyone wants to release the best and brightest model, but it does take time to sit down and sieve the data and clean the data. So we are seeing, of course, a lot of research going, ensuring that what we call PII, personally identifiable information, is removed from the data.
Yeah.
That the outcome does not show any, because essentially, no matter how hard you try, if the data contains the personal information, you cannot stop the model from outputting that, because at the end of the day, it's a probabilistic machine, and at some point, at some probability, it might fetch something which you don't want it to fetch.
Yeah. Very good
So,
point. Yeah.
right. So essentially, yes. So when you feed the model itself, you're gonna make sure that it does not have any personal identifiable information.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then it's a challenge also, right? That now the data is used. Let's say I wrote an article or you wrote an article, and it was on some website, let's say Quora or Reddit, whose data is very much used in AI training. Now, like who owns the data? Who and should, if the data is like highly valuable, for example, this book data is very well, uh, book data is also used for training. Now it's a challenge, right? That how do you say that what is right and what is wrong, and if it should be used, should it not be used, and if there's a problem, who is liable? If the person who trained who is liable, or the person who wrote that is liable?
Yeah, actually, good point. Because if you look at the way startups mindset is, I'm one of the early stage startups expert.
Mhm.
What I do is I always talk about, oh yeah, Mr. or Miss Customer, let's build a RAG, let's build a knowledge warehouse, let's train all this data. But then the ethic piece, once we come out of the POCs or MVPs, I think that this is where so many companies, enterprises, they are still not in production, or they are still preparing themselves as part of the compliance and ethics to go into production with AI. And I think that's a huge blocker to
Right.
see the real or true ROI on using AI.
The other challenge is that, see, this is a new evolving tech space. Now, compliance is usually enforced by the government. So I guess it will take some time for the actual compliance law to take shape. Like we recently see a good compliance recently where I think the deep fake cannot be circulated. That's made or it will be punishable by some offense. So such things are coming up, but I guess it will take some time. Like it took so much time after the arrival of the internet for the GDPR to come, right, to enforce privacy.
Yeah, like CCPA. My previous startup was in data governance, and now every state within United States, they are trying to launch their own version of CCPA, where they want to make sure that there's a privacy in place for the consumer data before it's even ingested, or there's a way to delete it, right?
Right.
And now imagine for a second, you have this silos of knowledge warehouse rags sitting around, and now suddenly there's a request to delete something, as part of the CCPA. It's going to be painful to handle
Right,
those
right,
requests.
right, right. Where will you delete? What parameter you're gonna change? Nobody knows. There are like 405 million parameters in the latest biggest model.
Oh my God. Wow. Wow.
Right. And this gets more complicated if you come into the domain of the healthcare or the finance, where there are different level of the legal compliance requirements.
No, that's actually very good point. That actually brings to the last uh, piece of our episode. So uh, let's look at the impact, like, the ways, the speed AI is moving,
Mhm.
the social impact on teenagers, schools, and especially I'm worried about elderly people who are old. They don't know how to use technology, and suddenly you expose a prompt. I think you and I, we both know Microsoft launched their Copilot in their new hardware devices, and they had to roll back. The point here is that how do you train on what is like a society and psychology impact on
Yeah.
the consumer? I think that would be very interesting topic to talk.
Right, right. I mean, the human psychology is very interesting. I mean, I've read in some book that the technology has outpaced the rate at which human brain can evolve. Like we can do so many things with technology, but the question is our brain also evolving to grasp this new reality? Like in 200, 300 years ago, the max people somebody would meet is 100 or 150 in their lives. But now, like you're exposed to the whole world, and are you ready? What will be the impact? Like for example, the impact of some of the overexposure of social media. We see that some of the teenage victims are rising, and we are yet to see how this tech is gonna impact our society as a whole. There will of course be good impact where we are seeing the productivity increase across the board, because something which you have to spend 20 minutes, now you spend 10 minutes. But on the other hand, we see our colleges and the schools, they have to redo their assignments to make sure that it's not memorization based, because anything which you can learn, the AI model can itself tell. And the other is that having access to such a large amount of information to our children, teenager, how it's going to impact their brain. We are yet to see that. We don't know that, and I
Yeah.
hope, right, some compliance or something will come which will make sure, hey, this is LLM for the kids, safety for kids, and as you said, elderly is a very important point because the elderly can become victim of the AI.
Yeah.
You can just automate call and clone the voice and call them up to send some money and all this old scams with the new tech. So yeah, there's a lot of groundwork that needs to be done to make sure that these techniques are not abused and used for the betterment of the humanity.
Yeah, and I was talking to someone about AI lying, and this individual who is around 82 years old, and she said, "What do you mean by AI lying?" I said, "When you're using a prompt, when you're talking to, let's say, ChatGPT or any of these things, there's a concept of hallucination."
Yeah,
What's
yeah,
your take on this?
yeah. I mean, the models hallucinate a lot. Hallucination is where they will confidently put out an information even though they are themselves unsure of it, or just write up making up information. So think it like that these models are trained on data, and on some of the topics there will be a lot less data, and there could be a chance that data is inaccurate, right? But model has no way of saying what data is inaccurate, what data is accurate. And when it gets a proper prompt which causes it to pull up those tokens, it will just output those tokens. And the end user who is who will take this information as it is. So 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 output the information when model is not confident enough, and that information turns out to be incorrect. That's called hallucination. So sometimes when you tell the model itself, hey, you are wrong, so it will go, oh, I'm wrong, let me fix that. And sometimes then even that fixture is also hallucination. So we have to take the output of the model with the grain of salt, especially not use them for life-threatening purposes, or like on things which are which can be a matter of life or death. They can be your assistant, but they cannot be your the doctor, or
Yeah,
they
yeah.
cannot be your expert.
I was talking to someone, and this person is an expert in the AI domain, and she mentioned to me that the future job, if you want a job security in the future gigs, testers, people who knows how to do better testing,
Mhm.
that's the job which is secure, because when you get a code, when you get all this output from all these prompts, you need people who can test this and make it better on the daily basis.
Right, of course. I mean, yeah, it's a kind of a paradox also, because you can directly use AI to test itself.
Yeah.
They are they are using the, let's say, the more efficient model to train the less efficient model to improve the the efficiency. It's like AI training AI.
Yeah, I love this. Yeah. you know Training the more inefficient model in the more efficient way by using AI on top of AI. I love it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, you are generating videos using AI and using those generated videos to train another AI.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like, in our podcast world also, there's a way I can clone my voice, and I can just upload a script, and then this script can create a podcast. Of course, it sounds very robotic. So I think the point here is that humans are not going away.
Right,
Humans will become more productive,
right.
where they don't have to do the initial foundational work. They will just work on top of the foundational work to make it better for the humanity. Yeah.
Creative work.
Creative
Because
work. Yeah.
ultimately, we don't want, like, if there is no new creative information, the model will be operating in echo chamber.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. Yeah. Um, Arpit, again, thank you so much for making time. This is amazing. This is exactly what I wanted to get out of this, to share more knowledge from your end. As part of the closing, anything you want to share about the future, good, bad, neutral?
Yeah, I mean, the technology takes its pace. It always grows and evolves. So the best way for us is to embrace it, adopt it, and enhance it for the betterment of society. And that was true with all the electricity, internet, agriculture, and now we are in the middle of the fourth revolution. AI, same will be true for that.
I love it. Thank you so much, Arpit. Folks, thank you so much for spending time with us. I will share more details about this episode. And also, you can always connect with Arpit. Arpit, are you on Twitter by any chance? X?
I'm on LinkedIn, not
Okay.
that much active on
All
Twitter.
right. I will share Arpit LinkedIn information. Again, Arpit, thank you so much.
Thank you, Neeraj, for having me, and I really appreciate and like the conversation.
Thank you. See you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Better You. I hope you enjoyed our deep dive into today's topic and found some valuable insights to help you on your growth journey. If you liked what you heard, be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. And don't forget to leave us a review and share Better You with your friends. Together, let's continue exploring the exciting world of tech and business. Until next time, stay curious, stay innovative, and keep growing.